Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fluent English with Podcast.
Hey, Sophie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Alan. Excited to talk about something that's important to everyone, saving money.
Absolutely, but before we dive in, let's just take a quick moment to remind everyone about the benefits of learning English with our podcast.
That's right. Fluent English with Podcast is all about improving your listening and speaking skills through real conversations, just like this one.
We cover a wide range of topics, and we use vocabulary and sentence structures that are clear and easy to understand.
So, whether you're a beginner or an intermediate learner, you'll find something valuable here. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode.
All right, now back to our topic for today, saving money.
Before we get started with some real-life conversations, let's define some key vocabulary words that will be helpful throughout the episode.
Great idea, Sophie. Our first word is frugality.
Frugality.
Frugality. This means living simply and avoiding waste. Someone who is frugal is careful with their money.
An example can be, my grandma is very frugal. She always finds ways to mend clothes instead of buying new ones.
Another example can be, eating out less is a frugal way to save money on groceries.
Next, we have thriftiness.
Thriftiness.
Thriftiness. This is similar to frugality, but it can also imply being resourceful and finding good deals.
As an example, we can say, she's a thrifty shopper. She found a great pair of jeans at a second-hand store.
Or thrift stores are a great place to find unique and affordable clothing.
Before we dive into our first conversation, let's solidify some more vocabulary that will be helpful throughout the episode.
Sure, Alan. Our next word is budgeting.
Budgeting.
Budgeting. This refers to creating a plan for how you will spend your money. A budget helps you track your income and expenses and make sure you're not spending more than you earn.
An example can be, I find it helpful to create a monthly budget to keep track of my spending.
Or, there are many budgeting apps available that can help you stay on track.
All right, and our last word for this segment is savings.
Savings.
Savings. This refers to the money you set aside for future use. Ideally, you should aim to save a portion of your income every month.
An example can be, it's important to have a savings goal, whether it's for a vacation, a down payment on a house, or just an emergency fund.
Another example can be, building good savings habits can help you achieve your financial goals.
All right, now that we've got those words down, let's jump right into a conversation about saving money. Imagine you're catching up with a friend, David.
Sounds good. Here we go.
Hey Anna, how's it going?
Hey David, good to see you. What are you up to?
Not much, just trying to figure out how to save some money. Everything seems so expensive lately.
Yeah, I hear you. Have you been thinking about any specific ways to cut back?
Well, I'm definitely going to try to eat out less. Eating at home is so much cheaper.
That's a great idea. And maybe you could try cooking some new recipes to keep things interesting.
That's a good point. I get stuck in a rut with the same meals all the time.
Exactly. Cooking at home gives you more control over the ingredients, and it can be a fun way to save money.
Wow, that was a great conversation, Sophie. It used all of our vocabulary words naturally.
That's right, Alan. I think it shows how simple conversations can be a great way to practice using new vocabulary.
This conversation is a good example of how anyone can start saving money with small changes. Eating out less is a frugal and thrifty way to stretch your budget.
Exactly. And by cooking at home, David can control the ingredients and avoid the markups of restaurant prices. It's a win-win.
Now, let's welcome our first guest today, financial advisor Amy Rodriguez. Amy, thanks for joining us on Fluent English with Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to chat about saving money.
Great. So, Amy, what are some of your top tips for listeners who are looking to save more money?
Well, there are a few key things to keep in mind. First, creating a budget is essential. This will help you track your income and expenses and identify areas where you can cut back.
And For those who aren't familiar with budgeting, are there any resources you recommend?
Sure, there are many budgeting apps and websites available that can help you get started. The important thing is to find a system that works for you.
Absolutely. And once you have a budget in place, what other tips would you suggest?
Another important step is to automate your savings. Set up a recurring transfer from your checking account to your savings account so you're not tempted to spend that money.
That's a clever strategy, Amy. By automating your savings, you're essentially paying yourself first.
Exactly, Alan. And finally, don't be afraid to shop around for better deals on things like cable, internet, and even your phone plan. A little comparison shopping can save you a lot of money in the long run.
Those are all fantastic tips, Amy. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with our listeners.
You're welcome, guys. I hope it helps.
All right, Sophie, let's listen to another conversation about saving money. This time we have Evelyn talking to her friend Sarah about some challenges she is facing.
Sounds good, Alan. Here we go.
Hey Evelyn, how are things?
Hey Sarah, good. Just trying to figure out my budget for next month.
Oh, budgeting can be such a pain. I feel like I never have enough money left over to save.
Yeah, I hear you. Everything seems to cost more these days.
Exactly, and I have this bad habit of impulse buying things I don't really need.
Hey, we all do that sometimes. Maybe you could try setting some spending limits for yourself.
That's a good idea. Like maybe only allowing myself to buy something if it's under a certain amount.
Exactly. And you could also try the wait 24 hours rule. If you see something you want, wait a day before buying it. You might find you don't even want it anymore.
Ooh, that's a good tip too. Sometimes I just get caught up in the moment and forget to think things through.
Don't worry, me too. But with a little practice, we can both become more mindful spenders.
You're right. Thanks for the pep talk, Evelyn. I feel a little more motivated now.
That was another great conversation, Sophie. It showed some of the challenges people face when trying to save money.
Absolutely, Alan. And it also highlighted some practical strategies that listeners can try to improve their spending habits.
This conversation is a great reminder that we all struggle with saving money sometimes. Impulse buying and emotional spending can be real roadblocks.
Exactly. But Evelyn's tips were helpful. Setting spending limits and taking a beat before making purchases can help us be more mindful of our spending.
Now that we've talked about some budgeting challenges, let's hear from another expert. Welcome back to the show, Amy. We were discussing some of the difficulties people face when trying to save money. Do you have any additional advice for our listeners?
Absolutely, Alan. One challenge people often mention is the pressure to keep up with others. Social media can make it seem like everyone else is living a luxurious lifestyle, but that's not always the reality.
That's a great point, Amy. Comparing ourselves to others on social media can definitely be discouraging. What can we do to avoid falling into that trap?
It's important to remember that what people post on social media is often a curated highlight reel. They're not showing you the everyday struggles. Focus on your own financial goals and avoid comparing your journey to someone else's.
That's a fantastic reminder, Amy. Social media can be a source of inspiration, but it's important to maintain a healthy perspective.
Exactly, Alan. Another tip is to surround yourself with positive influences. Find friends and family who are also working towards financial goals. They can be a great source of support and motivation.
That's a wonderful suggestion, Amy. Having a support system can make a big difference on the road to financial success. Thanks again for sharing your insights.
You're welcome. I hope it helps.
All right, listeners, before we wrap up this part of the episode, we want to remind you about the importance of taking action.
Absolutely. Saving money takes effort, but the rewards are worth it. So, set some realistic goals, create a budget, and start making small changes in your spending habits.
And remember, we're here to support you on your financial journey. If you have any questions, feel free to leave us a message.
So that's all for this episode on Fluent English with Podcast. See you next time.
Happy learning.